So hello and welcome to the lecture on while loops. Now if you remember when we looked at for loops or foreign loops, it looped the code a specific number of times. So we said like between 1 and 10 to print hello, so it'd print hello 10 times, or when we use them with arrays, it would loop as many times as there are values in that array. Now a while loop works slightly differently. It loops the code a certain number of times depending on a condition you set it for. So if you don't know how many times you need to loop the code, then a while loop is the way to go, and that will just keep looping and looping and looping until a certain condition has been met. So what do I mean by that and how do we do that? Well, let me show you. So we'll create a variable. We're going to call it I. That might be seem a bit odd, but that's quite a standard sort of etiquette thing in Swift coding for this. So variable I, and we're going to set a value to that to 1. So if you remember in the for loops, we're going to write for, but we're going to write while now because we're in a while loop. So while I, let's say, is less than 10. So that's now our condition. And then in here, in the curly braces, we're going to write a bit of code. In fact, let's write that now. Print I. Nice and simple. So what we're saying here is then we're setting a variable called I to 1. And this is the condition. So loop this code, just keep looping and looping and looping while I is less than 10. Now if I was to press play now, with that in mind, what do you think would happen? Well, Xcode would crash, my mapbot would crash, I'd have to restart, reboot and start all over again, because it would just keep on looping and looping and looping to infinity and beyond. And that's because, of course, every time this while loop runs, it's always going to be less than 10, isn't it? Because the variable I is set to 1. So it's going to run it once. Is it less than 10? Yes, it's still 1. Run it again. Is it less than 10? Yes, it's still 1. Run it again, etc., etc. So what we need to do then is each time that loop runs, we need to increase the counter, or the variable set value here, of 1 to an extra 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., etc. So to do that, you might actually imagine we'll do it like this. So we could say I equals I plus 1. So of course we don't write var again because we're not redeclaring it. We're now saying, look, the value of I is now equal to 1 plus 1. But of course in Swift you can use this instead. And I recommend to use this, I plus equals 1. It means the same thing. But as you start coding, you'll come across plus equals a lot more. It's just a simpler way of writing the same thing. So get used to using that. So now I will press play and we'll see what happens. And there you have it. It's looped through that code and it's printed 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way up to 9. Now it hasn't printed 10, of course, because we're saying less than 10. So less than 10 is 9. So between 1 and 9, that's now printed. So that's a while loop. You set the condition here at the start, and then whatever code you want to run between the curly braces. Now I want to show you here as well, something that may not be as common, is a repeat while loop. And so we're going to leave var I equals 1, and this time I'm going to write repeat our curly brackets. We'll run our code here. So let's print, just print I again. And of course, without this bit here, it would crash. So it's very similar to before. But here is where we're going to write our while and then our condition. So let's actually write while I is less than 1. And I've done that on purpose. So can you imagine now, when I run this playground, what's going to actually happen here? So we're saying I is equal to 1. It's going to run this code here. So the first thing in the code is to print I. So it should really print 1. Then it's going to add 1 to I. So that'll be 2. But then we put the condition at the end. So this is the opposite to a while loop. A repeat loop has the condition at the end. And the condition is, look, I only want to run this loop while I is less than 1. So let's see what happens here. And it's printed just 1. Hopefully that's what you was expecting. So because the condition is at the end, you would use a repeat while loop when you definitely want to run the code at least once and then check the condition. And that's what's happened here. So it's printed I, which is 1. It's added 1 to I, but that's actually inconsequential because now it's checking a condition. It's saying, well, I is less than 1. Well, it's actually 2 now, and it actually was 1 in the first place. So either time it wouldn't have really run if we'd done it in a while loop, because 1 is greater than less than 1. So hopefully that makes sense there. So a while loop, condition at the front, and then runs the code. A repeat loop, the while part is at the end, the condition's at the end. So we'll always run at least once, and then check the condition. So again, a very brief introduction into while loops. Now it's time for your challenge.